All right, finally I could connect. Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a nice weekend. Today we're going to discuss another approach to look at our actions. We're still discussing the idea of goodness and rightness. How can we know that what we do is right and wrong? Um, an approach that emerged in philosophy in the 60s was proposed by Joseph Fletcher, a certainly interesting um, character for the time. His ethics was considered incredibly scandalous and inappropriate. He was a philosopher, a professor, and an Episcopalian ordained priest. And later on, he declared himself a atheist. Um, I don't want to go too much in his biography, but this is to give you the sense of the novelty of the position he proposed. Basically, what he said was that things are not universally right and wrong. There's no way to say in an essentially universal way that I'm doing always the right thing if I follow this recipe. The ethics he proposed is situational. It's called situationism because depending on the situation, an action can be right or wrong according to how we put our conscience at the service of the situation that is presenting to us, the kind of way in which life is showing itself to us. So for him, I don't know, abortion, extramarital sex, or um, I mean, yeah, homosexuality, issues that were considered quite thorny at the time and even today, unfortunately, were not declared right or wrong universally, but the rightness of certain actions according to the situation was considered different according to what the situation was demanding. So he proposed mainly a revision of two terms concept. One is conscience. According to Fletcher, we should start using the noun conscience as a verb. And in that, we see a little bit what we discussed with Aristotle in a previous video. Phronesis, do you remember this term, which means reasoning practice. So we should be able to be phronetic. We should be able to use our conscience in a awake, deep way in any action we are taking, which is completely the opposite of what we are instructed to do now. I mean, now we take ethical classes and often, sorry to say it for all the people who work on that, but the results is quite boring of this training that we have to take over and over, and we see video, we memorize what is the right and wrong course of action, and then we have our ethical training set and done. So we are basically given a number of rules, principles. We swallow all of them, and then we act always according to these principles in different situations. His teaching is completely different. We should be able to connect with our conscience. We should be able to be present to ourselves, to know what we're doing whenever we're doing something. So reason in practice, conscience in practice, according to the situation. And another term he suggests for us to keep in mind when we decide the course of action is the term agape, which is a Greek term that has been adopted, if you want, by Christian literature and philosophy to indicate love. As I said and wrote elsewhere, I mean, the word love in Greek is fortunately expressed in so many terms that you exactly know what you're talking about when you're using that term: stergo, phileo, eros. Um, we have a different way to indicate the familiar, the passionate, the amical kind of love. In English, as in other languages, we have just love. Now, the word love, expressed with the term agape, indicates in Christian literature, philosophy, and in general, when you use it, a form of communal love, of societal love. So, being able to act in a loving attitude means being able to choose the most caring, the most um, communal, intersubjective, uh, charitable way of loving someone, of relating to someone in the given situation. So, according to Fletcher, we should refrain from acting according to a strict legalism, which is more or less the way in which we are interpreting ethics today. Uh, Basically, as I repeat it, but that's how often it is. It's a way to not get sued, to get in trouble when we are working. So a number of principles that allows us to stick to laws, to certain laws, and so we know that we are always in the right because we're sticking to these laws. Unfortunately, sometimes laws are not particularly good. There was a very touching moment. I recently watched the show with Kamala Harris and Oprah. And there was this woman who was talking about her adventure, well, the mother, unfortunately, her adventure with getting an abortion. She was in one of the states in which abortion was banned, and she had to go to another state to do it. So nevertheless, she got the abortion she needed for very personal and difficult reasons. And a few weeks later, she died, leaving a child of 6 and her family because she couldn't expel the pill, the abortive pill they gave her was not capable of helping her to expel all the material, and for something absolutely preventable, she died. And the medical personnel was sticking to the rules. They couldn't help her. They didn't help her. She died. Personally, and this is of course a very personal opinion, I felt incredibly sorry for this story, because it's preventable, because it's a law that changed recently, and if that happened to her 10 years ago, she wouldn't have died. And yeah, it's very hard to live to rules and laws, the whole essence of what we consider to be right and wrong. Another extreme that Fletcher discusses is antinomism. We don't want to act in a society as if no rules exist, because that would create a chaos, and we would not be able probably to survive. It would be a non homini lupus, a lops. So every homo, every human being would be a wolf to another human being. So how do we do? According to Fletcher, we should be able to uh, follow, of course, the guidelines, and then check with our sense of love and conscience what's the right thing to do and what are the consequences of what we do given the specific situation. He believes that the main principles of any situation should be considered on the basis of pragmatism, relativism, positivism, and the personalism of a situation. What does that mean? So we need to take into consideration how pragmatic is the action we want to pursue. How will that impact on the relative amount of people that orbitate around this situation? What kind of decision for positivism is grounding this decision, and on what kind of care and love and consideration this decision is grounded on, and then personalism. So, where do you stand personally in relation to the choice you're making, in relation to the decision you want to pursue? It's another beautiful, interesting approach. Of course, it has its negatives, consequences, because it brings to a certain relativism, because it's hard to make a decision once and for all. It doesn't have a universal foundation. And consider that Fletcher was also a bioethicist. So sometimes we need stronger guidelines, especially if we are not completely educated on a certain topic or in a certain problem. But certainly, it's an interesting approach to have in relation to ethical problems, in relation to personal choices we want to make, and certainly was groundbreaking at the time it came out, and maybe even today, because it allowed us to look at certain problems from different perspectives and angles. All right. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed. If you have comments, questions, curiosities, and I can address them, I will be happy to. Take care and have a nice day. Bye, everyone.